this isn't about the sex scandal. Could a Democrat have done this? Of course.
Yeah.
Any party could have done it. A Tory could have done it. Someone from the Kazakhstan United Front could have done it.
Not anybody from the Know Nothing Party.
You don't think so?
They were fairly...
How about the Bull Moose Party?
They will, please. The Bull Moose Party? They would anything.
All right, so that's clear. I mean, we don't have to get into that. That's obvious, right? Because human beings are human beings. There's two things here that separate this scandal, though. Number one, the leadership covered up for it. And that's a wholly different thing. It's one thing if, hey, you find out it's over, you go get the guy and you say, you're done, and we're not going to let you talk to pages. We're not going to let you give him rides in your BMW as you're cruising, as he says. We're not going to let you expose the kids to you for longer and longer. I mean, of course, what everybody's thinking right now is the Catholic priest story. And that's exactly how it is. Yes, somebody, a Boy Scout, a Catholic priest, anybody could have done this, and it's horrible and horrendous. But what makes it much worse is that they protected him, and they let him keep doing it and let him keep doing it. So that's one aspect of it. And along those lines, so this is how it goes. First, they go to Alexander, who is this particular page, this 16, 17-year-old boy, goes to him and says, he's writing me these creepy emails, and the kid explains to his representative, I'm freaked out, and he writes these messages are sick. In fact, he repeats sick 13 times. He's like, it's sick, 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 sick. You get the point. And Alexander apparently didn't get the point. He goes, okay, well, let me go take it to someone who might know something about this. So he takes it to Reynolds, who's also a Republican from New York.
I think that's very significant. The first person he goes to is Tom Reynolds of New York, chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee, a guy whose whole job is to maintain the Republican majority. Tom Reynolds' job, and I'm not knocking the job, the Democrats have one too, and they ought to have one. But this guy's whole sort of reason, I can't do it. I'm just not French enough. I'm sorry. His whole sort of the reason, his whole purpose in the United States Congress is to make sure Republicans continue to be elected and to continue to maintain the majority. He is in charge of doling out the money to campaigns, raising monies for the national congressional campaign committee. And the first thought when Alexander hears this is, I'm going to go to that guy because I got to think about this politically. Not, God forbid you go to, I don't know, Foley.
No, first of all, God forbid you go to the ethics committee. God forbid you go to the police. I mean, God forbid that you actually take some sort of preventative action here. Now, so he doesn't take any preventative action. He immediately goes to the political chief and says, how do we handle this, obviously, politically? Because if it was anything other than political, he would have gone to a different guy. He went to the political guy on the Republican side. When eventually they do let the people in the ethics committee know, or their side of the ethics committee, they don't let the Democrat know. There are three people, two Republicans and a Democrat. They don't let the Democrat know. Now, why do you think that is? That's because they want to handle the ethics in a proper way? Or do you think it's because they want to hide it and cover it up?
Was that the ethics committee they went to or the page board?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, Ben.
They went to the page board. They did not go to the ethics committee. They went to the page board and let the Republican in charge of it know, who Cliff Schechter mentioned. That's John Shimkus. And they did not go to Dale Kildee of Michigan, who's the Democrat on the committee, because these guys, and that's totally believable, by the way, because these guys don't go to the Democrats for anything.
No, but that right there is, I think, absolute proof, nearly dispositive proof, that they're trying to cover it up. Because if you're not trying to cover it up, why wouldn't you go to the Democrats?
Here's the proof that they were trying to cover it up. They didn't do anything.
Well, that's a good point. And this is 10, 11 months ago. This is not like, hey, we found out on Tuesday. Sorry, we couldn't release it by Friday. Give us a break. This is 10 or 11 months ago. And since then, by the way, he still had contact with Pages, with these underage boys. Mark Foley did. Since then, they've exchanged money back and forth. Tom Reynolds, the political guy he went to, after he already knew about this, gave Mark Foley's campaign $5,000.
What's more significant is the amount of money that Foley gave the Republican National Congressional Committee,
which is run by Tom Reynolds. So Reynolds gives Foley $5,000. Hey, go get reelected, even though he knows what he's doing. And then Foley goes back to Reynolds and goes, hey, I got you, man. We understand what's happening here, and he donates back $100,000.
Have we confirmed that's from a New York Daily News blog post?
And the New York the New York Democrats have They say they have proof of it, and they're running with it.
I suspected it to be true. It all makes and one thing that the Republicans are going to use as a sort of their excuse is going to be, hey, we only saw those first exchanges, the ones that were, what are you wearing? How are you feeling? Send me a picture. The ones that are clearly creepy, but not sort of they aren't they don't clear they're not they don't. There's no sex talked about it. There's no measuring. There's no are you horny. There's none of that talk. But of course, the reason that they only saw those is because they didn't lift one. Rush Limbaugh was as a fax. They didn't lift one piece of paper to look into it.
No. By the way, I don't believe that at all. I mean, I hear you, and what you say is entirely true in the sense that if they didn't want to find out anything more, but there are two things that lead me to, and this is why there needs to be an investigation. I mean, you shouldn't take it on my conjecture. Obviously, the FBI should look into exactly what they covered up, what did they know, and when did they know it. There's no question about that. It's not even within dispute. Now, Haster's playing tricks with that. We'll get to that in a second. But they covered up by, originally, when this story first broke, Foley said the emails were entirely appropriate, and the Republican leadership characterized them as a little over-friendly. And he says, and Foley said, oh, this is a smear campaign by the Democrat. No, I was innocent. It's a smear campaign. You see how they brazenly lie? They don't care. They don't give a damn. Oh, it's a smear campaign. None of it is true. They're just friendly, appropriate emails. Oh, how about this one where you ask him to measure it and trying to figure out how he masturbates and having him describe every gory detail of it. Oh, yeah, okay, so I was lying, and I'm going to resign. And Hastert says, well, I never talked to anybody. And then Tom Reynolds goes, that's not true. I'm not going to let you throw me under the bus. Yes, you did talk to me. I told you. And then Hastert's like, oh, okay, I lied. I did talk to him. And then Boehner's tells the Washington Post, says, oh, yeah, I talked to Hastert about it. He calls back the Washington Post earlier on in the story and goes, no, I
don't think I talked to him.
I don't think I talked to him. Wink, wink. Okay? And then when they find out, of course, Hastert did talk to Boehner and Reynolds, then, again, Boehner comes back and says, oh, yeah, I did talk to him.
Well,
They're lying. No. They're lying. They're covering the whole thing up. Now, the reason I say that I don't believe that they didn't know all the lengths of this is because ABC News has broken another aspect of this story. They're talking to this guy who runs the Alumni Association for the U.S. House Page Program, Matthew. They pronounce it in a funny way. It looks like Loreditch here, but let's say Matthew Loreditch. And they talked to him. They interviewed him. I saw it on tape. We have it on tape. And he says, oh, when I came into the Page Program in 2001, they warned me, watch out for Mark Foley. He's too friendly, wink, wink, with the Pages. So, and by the way, they did not warn the Democratic kids. And that's also, I mean, just get a load of how loathsome that is. They don't warn the Democratic kids, but when the Republican kids know, because the Republicans know. The Democrats don't know, the Republicans know, so they tell the Republican kids, hey, watch out for Foley. He might molest you.